Got a big old Bounder. A nice looking Class A. I don't know what year it is. We're going to go up and take a look. That's a pretty coach. See, we got it all padded. You see all the padding and everything. That's a protocol. So if you're not here at this shop or coming into this shop and you're thinking of going to somebody else, I'll tell you, you're going to get some booger in your coach if they don't take care of it. I don't see very many doing them. The ones I've seen on YouTube, it's sloppy. Okay, so this is our Bounder. This is our Bounder. So our fine owner decided to put more on. You see all these crater holes? So all this is obviously going up. We're going to be replacing it with a tan roof. That's what this is. Look at this hot mess. Yeah. He needs to not go to the roofing department. Look at there. This stuff would just come right up. And this is that butyl tape. See? A lot of times if things aren't prepped properly, they don't stay. So I don't know if we'll be able to salvage that. That's for sure. But see right here, look at there. That's all loose. And that's what they want you to do. Put more on. That's all fractured. So, and I don't know if this is actually Dicor brand. I mean, I have no idea. But anyhow, I know Dicor being one of the brands. Anything that says RV, it's don't use it. But basically what it is, now if you're saying, hey, well, what should we use? A lot of the companies that make this type of roofing, this is just a low budget piece of crap roofing that they make for the RV industry. And a lot of them, like Carlisle Syntec for instance, they make commercial grade roofing and they make commercial grade lap sealant. So you can look for the commercial grade. Don't use any, if it says RV, don't buy it. Don't buy it. It's not going to work. What this is a butyl with acrylic. So what happens, the acrylic is supposed to be kind of the, the butyl is helps it stick, and the acrylic is, the whole intents and purposes is to basically reflect UV light and so forth. But it doesn't last that long. And what happens is when the acrylic starts to fracture and crack out, then you get these here, and that's why they keep saying put more on, you know. It's their cash cow. It's their cash cow. If they used a better product, you wouldn't have these issues. I don't like the way this system is put together. You know, but that being said, you know, you could probably get still a better product than this. Everything needs to be on a curb. So you could go to, you know, Google, Brave, DuckDuckGo, whatever, and you can go on there and look for commercial roof images. And when you look for commercial roof images, you're going to see the air conditioners, the vents. You're going to see even things like antennas. Anything that's supposed to be on the roof or mounted to the roof is going to be up on a curb, a box, or in regards to like wires and plumbing, that's going to be in a boot. So we fabricate all that. You can't buy these. You can't buy these here. So, you know, I modified them so they fit and function properly for an RV. So we'll be getting rid of that from what he tells us. We'll be getting rid of this from what he tells us. But I mean, gee whiz, look at the amount of caulking on here. That is crazy. That's got to be, I don't know, about 3-inch lap right there. So I'm probably not going to be able to salvage this piece, but we'll bring another one down. And then we also notice these gutters aren't all that great. So, and also you got exposed screws. I don't really like that. So then you got this little tiny little spout. Look at that. How can water get through there? It's all blocked up. See it? They put all that caulking in there, so obviously it's drooling over. So what we're going to do is replace the gutters, and we're going to put a bigger spout on there, and it'll really direct all that away. I'm not really a fan of these either. I'm going to look into these, mainly because you can see that rust right there on that light. So, oh, and over there, silicone. Silicone don't stick to plastic. So, but usually water will get down in that little crack right in there. Let's see if I show you a little better. Down in here. So you usually want to seal all that, but like I said, I'm not a fan of that. So chances are I'm probably going to swap them out. I may look for some nice LEDs and put on there. I don't think he'll mind that at all from our conversation the other day. All right, so then what else we got going on? We're going to have to get rid of these 3 solar panels. We're going to put on 2 big mofos. You got a 300-watt solar panel. He said there were something like 40 by 65 is the length, or the width and the length on them, right? So those are some big ones. And then obviously we'll check out the ladder. I like to make sure all these are in here. This is riveted on, so I'm not taking that. But I do want to make sure all these screws are tight. We do all that. Make sure all the lights are sealed. We'll go over all of this for sure. And then, like I said, we'll take all of this off of here. So if you have one of these type of, I'll go back to that antenna in a second. If you have one of these, you can see there's debris up inside there. Let's see if I can get some of that out of there. So I'm talking about way up inside here, way up like in here, see? Right there. And inside here, a lot of people don't seal that. There's a screw right here, and then water will get in here in the back because it's kind of hard to seal. And then it looks like someone tried to make a mold on this one, you know. But like I said, we're going to get rid of all that, and we'll put this in a boot, and then you won't ever have any trouble with it. That's the best way to do it. The other thing that's kind of odd is that why would they put a stink pipe? That's a stink pipe right here by your vent. So you put your, hey, we want some nice cool air coming in. Man, you better hope you're on a good keto diet, because that pipe is going to stink. You may have some fermentation going on in there. I don't know why these manufacturers do this thing. This is a high-end coach, and I've seen a lot of high-end coaches where they just don't do you know, do things pretty smart. So we got a rip in this awning here, we got a rip in the other one, but see the threading? You want to watch that threading, because eventually it'll break loose here. Okay, so we'll watch that threading. I don't know if we're going to replace these or not. You can tell we had some issues here. So I don't know what they had mounted here. Looks like some sort of antenna, or maybe even I don't know, several. You can see several of them. I don't know what this is either. But boy, he boogered it up pretty daggone good. Wow, them spots. So let me go. I'll go back around over to this antenna, because I want to show you something on here that if you have one of these crank ups, we're not going to be replacing this antenna. But not only we're not replacing this, and we're not putting any antenna on here at all, but water will trickle down here and it'll get up underneath that boot. You see that gap? And you'll get these chronic leaks. Real small little droplets will go in there, and then they start rotting everything out. So, you know, usually what you want to do is you want to get that boot loosened up. You got some good booger on there. And then what you're going to do when you get this boot up, you're going to load it up underneath there, because there's a hole right there. So I'll have to get a knife and pull it out. Maybe it's a checker tool, but you get the idea of what I'm saying. Okay, sometimes it's butyl, it seems like it sticks, but it really, you know, sticks to itself, you know. What you want to do is, up inside this boot, we get this loosened up, you're going to get the boot loosened up, and you can see, like I said, it sticks to itself. And down there is pretty dry. See? Not really stuck to that down there. You'd see remnants of it, there's nothing there. It just sticks to it, kind of sticks to itself. So, here's your boot. So what I'm getting at is, you want to make sure, right up inside here is, so someone loaded this one pretty good, it looks like, from what I can see. Or is it just, see right in here? That's where you want to make sure, because the water will trickle down through that boot, and that'll go right inside your coach. You want to put some booger on there, and then put it back down. Then I'd try to open this up a little bit with something like this, or, you know, a nail, or whatever you can, see if you can get some water loaded up real well so it oozes out, and then just swab it around. So just as a reminder, I guess, silicone doesn't stick to rubber. So if you get a rubber roof and you go, hey, I'm gonna put silicone on it, you can, if you like that idea, but it's not gonna stick. It'll come right off. It used to say it on the back of the tube, and then they realized they weren't making the sales that they wanted to, so now they changed some of the wording and the verbiage to confuse people, and unless you're in the business, you're not gonna know what all that means. So I'm just gonna cut to the chase and tell you, don't put silicone on rubber. I'm not an advocate for silicone. I have a couple brands that I use, but They're different applications. You can't just willy-nilly go in the store and go, hey, I'm going to grab this and I'm going to seal that. A lot of things aren't compatible. So see the way these air conditioned units sit? We'll be replacing new units on here anyways, but those covers are down there. There's a gasket up underneath there, and what happens is you get pollen, dirt, debris, and everything up underneath there. And the case in point, you can see that little stick right there. Okay, so we got all that, and what it'll do is it'll dry out the gasket up underneath there, and then you'll start getting some leaks. So those gaskets really should be changed every couple of years. So if you haven't changed yours, you may want to look at them. But if they're at all kind of hard, some people think you just go in and tighten them back down. Those need to be torqued down, kind of like if you've ever done valve cover gaskets, a very similar application. You want to torque them down. You just don't put it in and go in there and tighten this one down. There's usually 4 that hold them on there. On this one, maybe not have the access to it. Some of them on these units, unless you can go up underneath and you see a cover for either a filter or maybe you have controls on there. They call that a lower control. If you can't see any of that, that means this is mounted right to the roof. And I don't know that yet because I haven't even been inside. But anyhow, that's where we're at with our big old Bounder. So we're going to start getting her ripped apart. And we're going to see what we got underneath this thing. We had another rip right here going on, just starting. And then you can see that feels real tight. And we got this one over here. And we haven't checked, this one here, the main, because it's got this, that's called an anti-billowing device. That's what this is for. It's supposed to divert some of the wind so it doesn't get up underneath and kind of billow the awning. This one here being obviously a metal cladded one, they got it shoved in there. Look at the way they got this rolled down. They got it rolled down there. Now you're going to have water just sitting on top of here. I'm going to see if there's a way we can negotiate that up a little higher. I'm not sure if we can because we got this mount right here. So I'm going to look at it though and see if there's a way. I like to solve some of these problems so they don't become a bigger issue. So, but I also don't want to create another issue or beat up a wallet trying to fix something, because I mean eventually the water will get off, eventually it'll drain. But what happens is when water just sits there and pools and puddles, and you may not realize that if you have a sag or something in your roof, when water sits on there and then the sun comes up, you just made a magnifying glass. So now the UV light gets magnified and then it starts more deterioration. So you really want to encourage water to get off the roof as best as possible and as quickly as possible so it doesn't become a magnifying glass. Okay, let me get to work. I've babbled enough. I gotta get going and we'll be back. You wonder why we don't have any sponsors, because most of this RV stuff is crap and all the products are crap. That's why Dicor isn't going to sponsor us, because they suck. Quiet on the set. Alright, so a Bounder, we scraped everything up, we cleaned up the deck. That's what we did. So this is a new sheathing going down. We got to glue it down. One of the other things we did is we moved that stink pipe away from that vent. Gee whiz. This is a solar line that we chopped through. So we're not going to glue it in, because if there's ever an issue, you can pull the wires out, if there is. So we got all that. Then we got all these steel plates. That's going to hold our mounts for our solar, because the solar's pretty big. So we glued all that down. You can't screw the 1/8 inch foam in the 1/8 inch sheathing and expect it to stay. They had these riveted in, these. So, but see how we got all our plates. That's where we're going to have all our mounts. So with that, then up front, we're going to omit both the satellite and the TV. However, somebody comes back, say he sells this, and they go, hey, we really wanted to put an antenna on. Well, now I got something to mount it to. That's another plate that we made. So inside you can see where all the wires are. And then what we'll do is just put a marker on each side, a little circle or something, or an A for antenna, S for satellite or something. I don't know. Something like that. But otherwise, once we get this redecked, we should be able to rock and roll and get the actual roofing on. We get the curbs made up, and we should be able to move right along. Awesome. So that's our update. All right, we got the driver's side is already glued. So what we're doing now, I designed a sprayer up to spray the glue. It's taking too long to roll it out with a roller. So now we got a sprayer that we use that are designed up that'll push it. This is real heavy glue. It won't push it. So now we can spray it before we get the whole coach. So the whole coach all covered. We do all that. And then it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to spray it down. It gives it a little better coverage too. So I kind of like it. We get in kind of some areas and the glue doesn't get thinned out, but it's a time saver. And a lot of people, they, you know, obviously we're trying to move along, so some people say, hey, you know, can you go any faster? Well, this is how I go faster, right? Design that up. That thing seems to be working great. I like it. A boom, chicka, chicka, bow, wow. Here, styling and profiling. Come on, come on. Who's out there that can do this stuff? Come on, come on. Step up to the plate and you show me. We're the best there is. All right, so we obviously got the roof rolled out, and now what we're doing is going and packing it down with this big heavy roller. Make sure she stays down there just really tight. So we'll go over that. That's like a 110-pound roller. That's what we go over. Now just keep in mind this roof here, this roof system, it's algae resistant and fungus resistant. So don't worry about if you see any stains from this guy's socks on there. You know, it shouldn't harm the roof. You need to change them socks, man. Gee whiz. Alright, so on our bounder, our Fleetwood Bounder, well, we replaced the awning on here. We're going to replace the patio and also the other slide over there. But one of the things that I didn't like when we got on this thing, it was wibbly wobbly. And what they did is they put rivets in here. And those rivets were all wallered out. So what we did is we put rivet nuts in there that are behind there. So those rivet nuts are going to, we put the bolts in. So we did that, all right, that's what we're doing to this one and to that one over there. Make sure they're all set. This is obviously a patio one. So we already got one in here. This was loose too. They didn't even have a bolt there. And when we took the awning off, this arm just wanted to pivot. They have one down there. But that's not the way it should be done. So that's why we put that on there. We still got second strike, and then I'll go over the whole rest of the coach. But, you know, I just wanted to show that because it's, it just never surprises me. But these are all the little extra stuff that we go through to do to make sure it rolls out. I don't want to put it back on and go, well, hey, you know, we didn't do it. We didn't touch it. It's still going to fall apart. So if it's something I can do within my power, you know, like doing this, sure. But if it's something that's drastic, then I would get with the customer and say, hey, we got some issues, and this is what it's going to take to repair it. So, like you said, they just pop them loose and put the rivet nuts in there and put the nuts on them. So we're good to go so far. All right, our Fleetwood, our Bounder by Fleetwood is done. So we got RVRI. This is obviously the month and the year we put it on. We like to put that on there so when he comes back for inspections, you know, if there's anything that comes up, we can go, hey, how old is this roof, you know, if there's any problems. We never had a problem, but I still like to put them on there. The other reason, too, is if he goes to sell this coach, then someone may go, hey, I know these RV roofs, they're this, that, the other thing. I'm going to talk you down and try to get you know, cheat the price down a bit. You go, hey, I just had that put on, you know, whenever. So that's another reason why we do it. So we got everything all welded in. Those are ladder boots. You got boots for you can see the solo we got. Well, first off, before I forget, I want to thank the customer for bringing the coach in to us. We really appreciate the work. And a lot of these customers, they travel a long way to come here. We've had them come from Canada. We've had them come up from Miami, out in California. They come everywhere, even New England. And you know, that being said, we want to make sure we put this together right. We want to put it together just the best we can because we don't want to rolling out the road, going hundreds of miles away, and you know, they got something that should have been done in the first place, you know. So we did put on new awnings, put one on all of them, all the slide outs, put all the awnings on there. Obviously, you can see we put new solar on here. These things put out like 300 watts. That's crazy. I don't know if he's going to be able to use the 300 or not, but anyhow, he'll figure all that out. Now, we don't do any hookups. Our job is to get them mounted, and our job is to make sure they're watertight. That's it. We don't do any electrical. But the reason why we brought this over here was so he could just zip tie it all the way down here. You may have to zip a couple of holes in there and put zip ties. This way it keeps it off the roof. The same with all the wires up underneath. You should have plenty of room to go and zip tie them so they're not laying on the roof, preventing water flow or redirecting water where it shouldn't go. So one of the other things you may have noticed, here's the stink pipe. It's not underneath there. We moved it over here. That was crazy. That was a piss poor design by Fleetwood for sure. So then we got our skylight right here. It's pretty common that these skylights, what happens is you'll get condensation on here. And then, but there's also condensation on the underside, much like, you know, like when on your windshield, you may have condensation on the outside, and you also have it on the inside as well. And even your headlights at some point, if the seal breaks, those are usually vacuum sealed though. But anyhow, the principle is, you do have condensation on here and on the top. And what happens is when the sun comes up, it'll evaporate it off the top, but up underneath there, it doesn't. And what it'll do is it'll drool down, and then it gets into the sealant panel and everything, and then you'll notice a little staining. And some folks say, hey, I got a leak. It's not a leak, it's a manufacturer's defect. So I had to solve that problem. So the way I solved the problem is there's a trough right in here, and then there's a trough right here. This is our intake. This is a solar fan. So park this in the sun. I recommend parking it in the sun. This is a commercial roof. It's not going to hurt it at all. And then when the sun comes up to try to evaporate this off, that fan will kick on. When that fan kicks on, it's going to draw from here, and it'll draw all the way up over the inner lens, and then it'll pull it back out. And then this way, it'll keep running. It'll keep running. It'll keep running all day. So from time to time, you do want to check to make sure it is still working well. And like I said, we got our wires right there. All these are all mounted in. Those are 3/8 bolts on all of these. So they're on there. They're not going anywhere. And then we just glue these down. So you'll notice someone may say, hey, there's no screws in there. No, these things expand and contract too much. And over the years, I've tried to drill the holes out. I've tried to make them bigger. And in the summertime, when it expands, it's pushing against the screw. And then in the winter, when it contracts back, it's pulling against the screw, and you always seem to get these little hair fractures there. So I said the heck with it, and we glued this son of a gun down. It's not going anywhere. So obviously we got our refrigerator cover. We didn't have a cover for that, so that didn't come with one. Put new air on there. We didn't put it on. We don't do air work. So we got with a company to come in, and they did it for them. So they got it all done. Like I said, we got 2 licks of caulking going all the way down here. We got a new awning fabric in here as well, so everything's all set. We even put on some new LED lights on here for him, so we did that. And then we moved the antenna, got that squared away. That's what he asked for. But these are all LEDs, so we put them on. Then on the front, you can see we've got our that piece right there. What is a piece of counterflash? So when the water comes down, it's going to hit that piece and roll back out. Looks like that cover just needs to be pulled back down. Actually, both of them probably do. So we'll get that. But we got stands on there, and those just give them balance. So when the water comes down, I don't want it, there's a foam gasket up in there, and I don't want the water get blown back into that gasket at all. I want to avoid all that. So what happens, it'll hit that counterflash, and that'll roll down, and it goes up underneath the counterflash that we made on the curb itself. There's a piece of counterflash up underneath there to prevent water from trying to come up and jump a curb. Basically, it minimizes the erosion effect. It's right here. We build them all in right there. So that all of them have, that's the design that I put in them. So other than that, we're about ready to go. So this insert trim that we put in right here, that's the insert trim that we put in, and it's right here. This is just obviously in white, but what this is, you can see it's got a groove in it, and it goes in that track. I'll turn this around. So what it does is it goes in this track right here and on top of the track. So it keeps a lot of the moisture and water out of there. That's the whole goal, keep it in there. It's really good stuff. Now, we don't sell any of this. You may be able to find that on Amazon or something, but AP Products makes one, and you can try looking for that. But we don't sell anything. We don't sell anything at all. And also, this is, just to reiterate, it's not a DIY channel. We show things as we're going along so the customer can see everything we did, but it's not really geared to, if you get a tip out of it, awesome. But, we're not really gearing this to be, like I said, a DIY video. We've been getting inundated with, a lot of questions, and at the risk of sounding, like I'm too good or something, I simply just don't have the time to answer them all. So if you get something, great. But otherwise, like I said, it's just pretty much a straightforward channel for the customer, really. And we appreciate all the subs we have. But that's why we don't have any sponsors, and that's why you don't see a fancy intro video like some of these other jazzy guys that get out here and claim they do all this stuff. And you can see them because they want to do selfies, and they want you to see who they are, and they're popular, and they want to be a superstar. We're not like that. I'm an ugly guy anyways. You don't need to see me on this camera. But you just need to see the quality of the work that we do so we can correct everything that was originally on here. So otherwise, we're done. We, like I said, we appreciate all the work. We appreciate y'all watching. So if you have any questions or anything, there should be a card at the end, and at the end you can respond to that, like you said, if you have any questions. So this coach, I'm going to show how to do a quick inspection on it, and then and I got to go get that tool, so I'll go get that, and then I'll show how to do a quick inspection so the customer. All right, let me show you how we do these. This is just a checker tool. We put one of these in the care package, and basically all you have to do is just see how that already slipped. That's a good sign. That's a good weld right there. Now, if it did tuck in a little bit, we leave product so you can just go around and you can use a primer, and you can fill that, just clean it out, put some primer in there, and we also leave some caulking in there. And then the next time the coach comes in, we'll correct all that. But I mean, I'd be surprised if you found one. But we're not perfect, and that's how you do it. You just take this and then put a little pressure on that weld. And these are all, there's a commercial one, but like I said, I put them all in the packages, in the care package, and you'll see that care package here afterwards. And we show how on that next clip you'll see how to do a repair on here with the care package. So I've been doing them so much, I just said the heck with it, and I just made one up, and I'm just going to put them at the end of all the videos because it just gets time consuming. But see how that slipped off right there? You can probably see that little scar, and that's what's supposed to happen. You can see some of the heat. I had a comment on here. One of the guys said, "Oh, my welds look cold." That's not a cold weld, and this is also 60 mil. When you weld with cheap, no, you shouldn't say cheaper, but a different grade of TPO, they make different. Well, this is a 60 mil structured. So when you weld with a 45 structured, you'll see the mesh underneath it a little bit. You'll start to see little squares if you get it too hot. You really don't want to get it quite that hot anyways. But anyhow, this is the way you go around. You just check all your welds, and this will be in the package. And you check everything. And if you see something, like I said, we leave primer. We leave all the products there for you to just do a touch-up if you have to. And then also we'll leave product for this as well. Everything. So this way, if he has an issue, he can just get it. Now, that being said, please go around all your windows. Go around all your lights, go around everything. One of the things I didn't like, I think I already brought it out, but we had put right in here, that was free. We put that in there. And when we took this awning off, it was swinging. I think I had mentioned that the arm was. But that's something that needs to have some, we needed to put that in. They should have done it at the factory. That was, they just get so cheap, they don't care. They go, will it stay? Yeah, all right, good. What they normally do is just put a screw here, and then the screw that stays in here pretty much stabilizes so the awning can't move back and forth, but that bolt should have been in there. So please go around all your windows, go around all of those and everything, even around in here. You want to go around everything, even like around here, check the windshield, check everything. And again, if you do this on your own coach, like whoever's watching this, go around your own coach and make sure that everything is nice and tight, watertight that is. So the next thing that we're going to do is I got to stretch the scaffold apart, and then we're going to check the slides. I just want to make sure the slides are okay, and if they are, that's awesome. And they may need a little touching up. If they do, then I'll video it. If it doesn't, then obviously I'm not going to just waste another few minutes on a video. But all right, well, we appreciate y'all watching. Let's see, we got all the coaches that come out with a care package. This is our care package right here. See if I can zoom this in. We got a license plate right here if he wants to put that on. This is a piece of patch. It's an emergency patch in case he got a tree branch to come down and if he had to patch it. Now this is a hot patch. This is the one that we would use much like this one around here. It's just the same material, but so that would have to be welded in. However, in an emergency, if you had a hole, and we'll say whatever right here, if you saw it in there, you take this and shove it in that hole, and you go squirt, 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 squirt all around in a circle like that, and load it. Then you squeeze it, it'll bubble up. That's done. This is a moisture cured product. That's what we use. We use all Chemlink products. This is Durlink. That's what we use. So that'll seal it. But then we also left a couple of patches. So the way you want to do your patching, there's an roll away. The way you want to do your patching, and we left a couple in here, is you would center it over your hole. Once you get it centered, take a pen and outline this. You want to outline it with a pen. Now you got that, just set that aside. And there's a little bit of primer right here. You're going to need that primer. And I might as well empty everything out of this thing. Here's a brush. So now you want to go beyond the ink line. You want to go beyond that, maybe 3/8 of an inch or so. So you're going to be doing this on your ink line. Then you want to do the whole thing here. So you got all inside the ink line, and then about 3/8 over the ink line. You're going to take your patch. You're going to peel the back. This film will peel right off. And you line it up, and I usually reach up underneath, and then I take my other hand and I kind of pull it this way. It keeps it nice and smooth. Now you've got your ink line there. You got your primer out here. You take your brush again and go over this. Just like that. Okay? Go over here. Because it won't bond to this. That's the purpose of the primer. Nothing's going to bond to the TPO unless it's primed. So once you get that, then you come back with your product, and you can put some caulking around there. And that's going to be a pretty darn good Band-Aid. Now, if the customer really feels he needs to have a hot patch put on it, that's why we left this. We don't want someone to just go to if he can't come back here, we do them for free. If he can't make it here and he's somewhere else, he's like, yeah, that really needs to be put on there, you cannot interchange these materials. So some people think you can take, this is a Carlisle membrane right here. Now Carlisle does make a couple other products, but it has to be the same Carlisle product. But you couldn't take, for instance, GAF and put it on there. You couldn't take Genflex and put it on there. You can't do that. They're two totally different companies, and they're two totally different products. I mean, they're still TPO, but it's kind of like Ford and Chevy. Yeah, they're both a car, they're both a truck, but they're not compatible. You're not swapping parts on them. So it may seem like it'll weld on there, and I've had people at supply houses tell me, oh yeah, we don't have any of that, but you can use this. You can't. There's enough chemical imbalance in each product where they're not compatible. So that's why we put that in there, just in case. So you got the primer, you got that, you got the brush, you got some caulking. And then the caulking, we like to see these come back in 30 days, okay? 30 to 60 days for an initial inspection. After that, it's annual. Now, if the customer says, well, I want to inspect it myself, we want them to go along, put a little friction on here to get it warmed up, and then this is going to stay tight anyways. But in the event he found something, hey, it looks a little loose or whatever, you can put a little bit more primer on there, and you can use that to just give it a little low, especially around the corners. You can go around the corners and everything like that if you had to. So that's why we put all that in there. Let's see, we got a magnet for maybe on your hood of your stove. Got a couple of pens here. Got a fancy dancy key tag with a beverage opener. We can't say beer, it's a beverage. So this is a checker tool. So this is used to check the joint, the welds. You go along like this, and if it pops in there and you find a little hole, we'll say there was a tiny bit, if you did, that's what you check for. And these are going to move a little bit. So if you did, then again, you can take the primer, take a little brush, put it all in there, take the caulking, and you're done. Okay, that'll hold it so we can get a look at it and make sure everything's all set. But like I said, that's what we like to see. It come back in about 30 days. I like to see them, but 60, all right. But I still want them inspected because I don't want to have a little tiny problem turn into a big problem and then an upset customer. So we got all of that there, and let's see what else we got here. Here is a sample of our product. This is a 60 mil commercial grade. And if you look real hard enough, you could probably see the little, see if I get the angle of this light in here from the shop. You can see these little squares. There's a mesh built into this, which gives it its strength. So that's where it'll resist hail damage. It'll resist tree branches. So it's really hard to poke through this. It truly is. You'd have to have something really hard and sharp to really get it. But if you had a big enough tree branch, that could possibly happen. So we get all that. And then like I said, got another key tag and everything in here. So that's the gist of it. So all the customers, they get these here, and we got an emblem on the back. There's one of our emblems here that we put on the back, and that's about it. So we leave all this with the customer. So Mr. and Mrs. Customer, at least they have all this stuff handy in case of an emergency. So we want to make sure everything stays tight and everything. You got all the products you need, so on. So obviously, if you have any issues, there's our telephone number. 423-475-7663. Keeping all this in mind, these are not intended for DIY. I just simply don't have the time to answer all these DIY questions. And the other thing is, I don't know what you're dealing with. I don't know what you have. I don't know what products are on there. And I have guys ask me all the time, what can I use for this? What can I use for that? And I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction and find out, okay, well, you got silicone on your windows. What can I use to do my windows? Well, you're going to have to dig all that out. You have to dig it all out. Nothing sticks to silicone. Silicone doesn't stick to silicone. So you really got to clean all that out. And if you don't know if you have silicone, and some people don't know the difference, they can't just go up there and feel it and go, yeah, that's silicone, or it's just a urethane, or it's a terpolymer. I mean, there's a bunch of different products out in the market now, but the biggest one is being the silicone. And some products kind of simulate in a touch, so you may think it's silicone, but all that has to be, like I said, it has to be removed. But again, that's why I try not to get into advising, and I just don't want anybody to be upset, but honestly, I really don't have the time at the risk of sounding like a jerk. I'm not trying to be. I'm trying to do a good job, but you can imagine how many emails and, you know, we get from, you know, with questions, and also questions on our channel. Keeping this in mind as well, we don't quote on social media. If you want a quote on yours, you'd have to give us a call. Again, 423-475-7663. You can do that, and then you can send us an email even if you wanted to at contactus@rvroofinstall.com. So that's about it. Everything's done. I think the customer just showed up, so we're going to get him coupled up here, and he may want to take a glance at the roof, and otherwise we're good to go. So we appreciate y'all watching. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. What that does, from what I understand from the algorithms, what it does is if somebody's looking for information on RV roofs, then, you know, this video or other videos will pop up. That's what I'm guessing. So if you want to subscribe, well, we put these up pretty often. You can go through a lot of the other videos we have. Some, I'm trying to think of some really good ones that we did that were just a hot mess. There's a Georgetown we did, I think a couple years ago. That Georgetown, we did the whole ceiling, took the whole ceiling and roof out and rebuilt that whole entire thing. There's a Montana that's up there. There's a earlier from years ago, maybe 5 years ago, there is a Siesta, and you can, that was roof we did, and the guy who did that roof put 2 roofs on, put the first one on, messed it up, put the second one on, messed it up, and you'll see that hot mess they did. They did not know what they're doing. So keep that in mind. There's a lot of guys out here on YouTube that'll say, hey, yeah, you can do this, you can do that. There's a couple of so-called experts that are out there, and I watched one of their videos, or a few of them, and I just shake my head because I know things are going to leak, and I know some of the stuff they've done, they have to have leaked, because there's just no way things go together like that. So if they're not, I don't think they mention that, but on their video, I haven't seen mention, hey, yeah, we had a leak, we had to fix it. But you know, if we have any issues, obviously we want the customer to come back immediately, and let's stifle any leaks at all. But you know, that's like almost unheard of. And I'll be honest with you, some of the biggest problems we've had are with these skylights, with them fracturing, and that's why we do them differently. Some of these ones, like I said, they're manufacturer's defects on a lot of them. But that being said, especially if you had a cambered roof, if you had a roof that had just a little bit of a camber, that wants to lay down flat, like just a flat piece of glass. And if you just make this end tighter and that a little tighter, now it's got that little stress going on it, and it only needs a little bit of stress to crack it. So that's one reason why we don't put any screws on them anymore. So, and if they come back for inspection, we take all the screws out, and then what we'll do is just load them, because the product that we use underneath there, it's not coming up. It won't come up. If you have to replace that, you're going to have to rip up that whole entire lens, and you're going to have to. It's not coming up. So, well, anyhow, like I said, I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see you on the next one.